The opinions expressed are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the official positions of the sponsors, advertisers, or presenters. Advertising does not imply endorsement by the sponsors and presenters.
Hey guys, and welcome back to the Lighting Controls Podcast. We have a pair of fantastic guests for you today. But before we jump into the conversation, let me take a minute to just say thank you. Today is episode 100. It is crazy the journey that we've been on, and to realize that this started September 30th of 2022. So here we are over 2.5 years. That blows my mind that we've been
Totally.
doing this for that long. So I cannot thank all of you enough, all of our listeners, all of our guests, Scott, you've all met Scott because Scott was episode 50. So we cannot thank you guys enough for absolutely everything that you have done for us, and the fact that here we are 100 episodes in and we are just still going strong. So thank you. Do you want to jump in, Webb, before we do our actual intro?
No, I mean, this was just such a pipe dream beginning, and so having this ability to see this grow and become this amazing thing that people come up to me on a regular basis and are like, yeah, I'm a big fan. I was listen to all the episodes. It's like, you listen to every single episode? I'm like, geez, okay, awesome, thank you. But seriously, the point is to have these conversations, to talk about lighting controls, because we don't have these conversations enough. And so it's great to know that people want to hear what's out there, want to hear different perspectives, different opinions, because that's really how we build a better place when it comes to lighting controls. So also huge thank you to everybody.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's get into it. Today's episode is presented by the LCA, the Lighting Controls Association.
And it's financially supported by the National Association of Innovative Lighting Distributors, or NAILD. Check out our website, lightingcontrolspodcast.com. Got all of our episodes, all 100 at this point. But also information about the other initiatives that Ron and I are doing nowadays. And huge shout out to our sponsor for this episode. We could not do this without your support. MaxLight's CMax platform. Definitely check them out. They are a really great resource for the lighting controls world. If you're unfamiliar with them, they have this true plug and play. I love that language. I'm going to keep using it, but it really is true plug and play. And the reason why I say that is because it is USB-C patented technology that allows you to swap out components and have, from the simplest lighting control solutions that are, low impact to the most complex and data-driven lighting control solutions, and you don't even have to decide when you first buy those light fixtures. They're just ready to go, waiting for you to put those components right in. So check them out, maxlite.com/CMAX. But let's get into the conversation. So today we have two guests, Alexa and Craig. Craig, I'm going to have you introduce yourself first, and then we'll get to Alexa, and then we'll get into the conversation.
Yes. First off, congratulations, guys, on 100 episodes. That's pretty astounding. That's real commitment. And it's a testament to the industry that there's that much to talk about. I mean, and there's probably 100 more at least.
At least.
So, my name is Craig DiLouie. I'm education director for the Lighting Controls Association. This is a role that I've had for over 20 years, back to when the organization was in its infancy and had just become part of NEMA from something called the National Dimming Initiative in the late 90s. And so besides that, my career goes back to the early 90s when I worked at an ad agency, and we had a lot of lighting clients, and people told me don't specialize young, but I did anyway. And so, like other people in the lighting industry, it sort of found me, and then I never left. And have really grown to absolutely love it. From there, I went to Architectural Lighting Magazine. I was the editor and then the publisher for 7 years when I lived in New York, and then left that position and ended up going out on my own. And that ever since then, I've been writing for Electrical Contractor magazine and TED magazine, and been working with the Lighting Control Association, NEMA, and other clients like the IES, NALMCO, and other organizations. And so it just every day. So every day is like my X number of episode, and it's been very exciting. I'm very lucky, man. It's been a really great career so far, and I've fallen in love with the industry, and then of course with the Lighting Control Association itself, we've done a lot of great work together, and look forward to the future with NEMA Academy and the other things that we're doing.
Yeah, thank you. And Alexa?
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me today. I feel like I'm the newbie on the block here, but super excited to be here for your 100th anniversary. So I'm Alexa Burr. I'm the VP of Strategic Growth and Market Development at NEMA, the National Electrical Manufacturers Association. I've been at NEMA formally for about 5 months now, but I've been working with them for close to a year. I've spent most of my career in trade associations and have done everything from global policy and advocacy to running standards development and certification programs from the chemical industry, oil and gas, and now the electrical industry. And so part of my role at NEMA is helping them lead the development of new programs that can support the industry, especially as we're growing and leading with new technologies, new infrastructure. So I'm excited to talk with all of you about NEMA Academy, which is one of those key initiatives that we've been working on, especially with Craig and the Lighting Controls Association for the past few months.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you both for coming on. I mean, it's always a pleasure, Craig and Alexa. It's really great to meet you, and really appreciate you kind of coming on and telling us all about what you guys are working on. Before we get into that, just for those guests of ours who might not be familiar with what NEMA is, do you mind just explaining a little bit of what NEMA is, its mission, and everything?
Of course. So NEMA is a trade association and standards development organization. We've actually been setting standards for the industry for close to 100 years. So we'll be celebrating that centennial mark next year.
Wow,
But we represent over
congratulations.
thank you. I'm sure you all will get there soon enough on 100, 100
100
years.
episodes, 100 years. Yeah,
Exactly.
It's the same thing.
So we represent over 300 electrical manufacturers that make products that start at the point of generation to actual distribution and then delivery in buildings, and everything from lighting systems in buildings to your thermostat. So we really cover quite the gamut and entire supply chain. Our members contribute 1% of US GDP, and we provide close to 500,000 American jobs. So we really are a significant backbone to this country. We contribute more than 250 billion to the US economy. And so and there are so many other sectors that can't operate without us. And so as NEMA, we have the kind of advocacy, public policy, capabilities. We have the standards development, and now we're putting those together to develop these new types of programs to help with things like workforce development, help in navigating some of the U.S. manufacturing goals of the bringing U.S. manufacturing back here. So that's where kind of my role comes in within NEMA and tying our two expertises in the past together.
No, it's an incredible organization, and we really owe a lot of gratitude to the work that NEMA has done to support pretty much everything that Lighting Controls has benefited from. So, and especially Lighting Controls Association's work couldn't, they're fully supported by you guys, and so it really is. People who aren't familiar with NEMA should absolutely get familiar with NEMA, because it is such a massive contributor to where we're at in this industry. So huge thanks for everything that you do as a representative of NEMA, but also individually. You're also working on a lot of really incredible things. Craig originally Lighting Controls Association had this platform called Education Express, which was a resource for people to learn about lighting controls, which is now migrating. Do you mind just telling us what's going on there?
I can bring us to where how we got here, and then
Yeah,
I
no,
think Alexa's
totally.
best position
Okay,
to
yeah,
talk
fair enough. Like, yeah,
forward.
tell us about Education Express for people who aren't familiar with Education Express, and you know what its goal is and everything.
Sure. Yeah, the Lighting Control Association was founded around 2000, and our mission was very simple: to grow the market for lighting controls through education and choice. And so, in fulfilling that mission, we needed to provide some type of education that was a little
Mm-hmm.
deeper and a little more formal than what we were just doing on our website with articles and just kind of covering the industry. And so we came up with a couple courses. We called it Education Express. We developed a platform for it over the years that migrated to a new platform. And then that platform has been the platform,
Mm-hmm.
ever until NEMA Academy. And it was getting older and older. We were like I don't want, it's an internet kind of thing, but like PHP is a
Yeah.
protocol that's essential for security and other things, integrity of websites. We are actually one generation of PHP behind, and so the website
Mm.
worked well, but it was getting very old, and it was really missing out on a lot of the bells and whistles and features that
Mm-hmm.
learning platforms. Probably a decade of
Mm-hmm.
evolution in that kind of software. We were not being able to take advantage of that
Mm-hmm.
because we are a very lean organization, and every dollar goes to where it needs to go. And our emphasis has always been on content.
Mm-hmm.
And so, to that mission, before I turn it over to Alexa to talk about the exciting next chapter, so we feel like we've done really well, and that this is a resource that has been highly influential and highly useful and highly respected in the lighting industry. I have
Mm-hmm.
some numbers here. Since inception, we've enrolled nearly 50,000 students. They've taken
Wow.
480,000 learning modules and completed 344,000 tests for education credit.
Wow.
The curriculum is now more than 50 hours of learning instruction on everything from the basics of lighting control to how to design a lighting control system, to the different technology, to deep dives into the strategies, everything from occupant sensing to daylight response. Some more advanced topics like tunable white lighting and color tuning, LED control, energy codes. Pretty much everything,
Yeah.
commissioning, everything you can think
Right.
of with lighting controls, we've covered it. And then we try and keep everything as updated as
Right.
possible. And our philosophy has always been, because I'm an old hand in lighting, so I remember when it used to be you had all these organizations and everybody was constantly recreating the wheel, like what is CRI? What is CRI?
Right.
So
Right.
when we came into this with lighting control, they didn't talk a lot about lighting controls, and so when we came in and said we're going to talk about lighting controls, the time was really right for us to say to all these different players, let us talk about lighting controls
Right.
and you talk about CRI or whatever you want to talk about, and we'll be the resource for that. And so we've written IES publications. We worked with a lot of different organizations like the New Buildings Institute back in the day. We wrote a lot of lighting controls material for them, and so we've always been this sort of resource for that. And then Education Express became sort of a linchpin of all this material. And so the state of California recognizes us as a continuing education provider. Electrical workers in the state come to us for their learning hours to maintain their licensing. Our courses are taught in community colleges in California. CLCP and the NLCAA use us for prerequisites to get training for testing certification and control certification in the state of California. NALMCO, great organization, and an organization I've worked with many times in the last 20 years, 30 years actually. They have a certification, the CLCP. Our curriculum is a prerequisite to getting that certification. Another example of, let us do what we do, you do what you do.
Right.
All the courses are AIA registered.
Yep.
So you get your
For
CEUs that way.
learning units and and health, safety, and welfare for almost all of them, which is sort of the gold standard in education for CEUs and so on. And
Right.
then we offer the CEUs. And then the NCQLP recognizes us for LEUs for LC certification maintenance, which I'm an LC, so that's important. And then DLC, also the Design Lights Consortium, which is showing a lot more interest and impetus towards integration, HVAC integration and network lighting controls, supporting that category. They recognize us, instead of them again going out and doing all this lighting controls education, they let us do that and they recognize us. And so pretty much the entire industry points at us and says, these are the people you need to go to get a comprehensive and deep lighting control certification, lighting controls education that is the basis for a variety of uses and certifications in the industry. And so we've been really proud to do that. It's been quite an accomplishment, especially seeing the kind of resources we have. NEMA is a very large and powerful organization. We're proud to be a coalition of them, but we're very small. It's more like guerrilla marketing, category promotion, guerrilla education with us. But we've accomplished so much, and which brings us to, the next step. What is the next step? And NEMA said we want to commit to workforce development. You guys are already doing it. It's a great model. And we see an opportunity here. And so, Alexa, I'm going to turn that over to you because that's where everything started to get really exciting for us.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Craig. And, just picking up on that line, we initiated the development of NEMA Academy to address this critical need in our industry for accessible, high quality, consistent training that supports both, current professionals and, employees in our industry, as well as the next generation workforce. And so, Education Express was such a great starting point for us, but, it was time to bring it into 2025. And offer a more comprehensive, robust learning platform so that it's super easy to use, can help track certifications and credits a little bit more, and help tie and tie together different offerings and packages for different certifications, as well as of course we're going to have all the LCA content, but we represent a number of other sectors within the electrical industry, so we'll be adding a lot of new content on everything from other NEMA standards, technical specifications, different types of equipment or products, to even policy issues that where NEMA can provide an overview of certain things that company or contractors might be interested in learning, just to continue their own learning journey, career development. So we're really excited about this new platform, and LCA and all of their content has really been our first step in getting it launched, and we're looking forward to continuing to add on new materials as we grow our audience and hear from the industry as to what would be most helpful for them.
No, that's I mean, it's really exciting because that resource, like you said, you're trying to address a deficit in knowledge in the industry, and by providing that resource, it really does help the industry over time. And by incorporating LCA's content in, you really have this ability to expand the accessibility of everybody to this content, and help bolster the other educational modules you have involved. And so, it's really, I'm also equally as excited as Craig is about this development, because of the fact that it really does expand the audience for this resource. Because and it's really, I speak to a lot of people who have gone through the modules and how they feel like it really helped them get to that next level in knowledge with lighting controls. So I think it's an incredible. So, like, what do you see on the horizon for this kind of development? Is there stuff in the works for the future, as well as this, just transition that's going on?
Maybe, Craig, do you
Well,
want to speak about some of the, yeah, we can start with LCA, future content, and then I can talk about a little bit more broadly about what additional content we're looking to develop.
perfect. Yeah. Yeah. So we are adding some courses this year, and updating. We do a lot of updating because we have so much content, and it gets older faster
Right.
than you think, like especially
Yeah.
with a code reference, or
Yeah.
what's the National Energy Reference Standard? Like, nope, that's not it anymore. DOE updated it, kind of thing. And so there's a lot of polishing that has to happen, and then there's some technological advances and market changes where you have to do some pretty big updates. So rebates is an example. So we updated our rebates course this year. We do that annually. There's going to be a new Title 24 coming, Part 6 coming out next year. So we have that's now in review, an updated version of that course. And then we have a couple other awesome things. We're working with this whippersnapper guy named Webster to help us with some of these courses. You may know him.
I've never been
And,
referred to as a whippersnapper, but I am not going to
you are
object to it.
you are the
I love it.
controlled whippersnapper. You can TM that
love
if
it.
you want. Free. That's free from me.
Fair
Um,
enough.
But yeah, so so that, and so you've been helping us with the wireless course, lighting controls, and daylight response. And our relationship with you has been really great, because you've been in the trenches doing this for a living, and I'm more of an academic. So between the two of us, we kind of know what we're talking about in education.
Don't
And
tell
so
people
I think
that.
Yeah, right. No, but I mean,
so I think that
he's right. I mean, we can make the best guess as to what people
Yes.
want to learn about, but in
Yep.
reality, I mean, it is the feedback that we get that helps us improve these resources that tap into what people are trying to learn about. I mean, yeah, okay, maybe everybody does know everything there is to know about wireless lighting controls. I highly doubt it, but
right.
if everybody comes back and it's like, well, yeah, of course I know how Bluetooth mesh works, and it's like, okay, great, let's move on. Let's create some new content for you. So, it is really great that we're working
I'm a
together
big
this way.
believer in something. It might be apocryphal, but Nietzsche's supposed to have said it, which is, one sentence can change your whole world, like completely transform it. And I'm a big believer in that, especially with education. So I think if somebody were taking a wireless lighting controls course on our website, I think we could guarantee to everyone who comes there, you'll learn one thing. You'll learn at least one thing. And that one thing could change your world as you relate to it through this category. I mean, it's a big claim, but I understand that. But as far as you are working with this category, that one thing will up your game. It'll make your job easier. It'll solve some problem you have in the field. And the value of that is variable, but it could be highly significant, and you don't know what you're going to get until you take the education. So it's always worthwhile, even if you have a background in something, to engage, like the podcast. I'm sure you get a lot of, control aficionados, like people who are really deep in it.
Yeah.
Watching your podcast, but they join that conversation because they're looking for that one thing, right? Always looking for that one thing.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so we have a couple new courses being added and updated this year, and then I think next year our goal is to go across the board. Now that we're in this new platform, we want to take advantage of fully advantage of its features. So we're learning too what it can do. And how do we tie this in maybe to what some of the lighting offerings are going to be? We're going to be looking at things like that, looking at opportunities where we can have one. We're going to take advantage of it. And then of course we want to do sort of an overhaul. There are still legacy light sources in our material that we've been slowly dropping, but that may accelerate now as the LED revolution concludes. It won. And so we're going to be looking at that and maybe going across the board next year with our courses and doing a big streamline. And then of course, there are always some salient topics, like some things that need to be updated, like rebates are going to change again. Codes are going to, as codes change, and then, look at some salient topics, what's hot. Something that is hot right now is the changes in rebates due to the LED revolution ending, and more of an emphasis on lighting controls, and also lighting controls and HVAC integrations is really big right now. And so we'll be looking at that kind of thing as well. And then the fundamentals always can use a brush up. So we'll be looking at that as well. So I would say those are the big plans this year and next year. And of course, we'll always be monitoring, like you brought this up, and I just want to address it real quick, which is, getting that feedback. And at the end of every course learning module, we ask people what you think. And our material has always been rated very highly. I think that people are grateful for it. They get this resource. It solved some problem for them. They had to get their hours, or they're going for a certification or maintaining it, or they're trying to make waves for their own career to become more of a content expert in a category that is growing in importance in lighting. And they want to level up themselves and contribute something more to benefit themselves and their firms. And so we have been rated very highly, and we're on the new NEMA Academy. There is a feedback mechanism that's actually a little more direct. We used to use SurveyMonkey. There's it's built in. An example of more robust software. And we're hoping to continue the good feedback that we get. But of course, any other feedback that people have, like things they'd like to see, we always welcome that.
All right, so I have a quick question. So we've mentioned.
No, go ahead, Ron.
Go ahead,
go for it. I was just going to say, I can attest to actually learning something from the modules as someone who really, I'm a beginner here when it comes to lighting. So actually, as we were going through the testing of the LCA modules, I learned a ton of great information that I, now use in my daily life, sharing fun facts with, my close family and friends about lighting controls. So
I love it.
You're now one of us.
Your question.
One of us. All right. So you've mentioned NEMA Academy and the new module a bunch of times. And so for people who may not have been familiar with Education Express in the past, we're now talking about this new module, but we haven't actually told anyone where they can find it. So, we've talked a lot about where, what the old module was, but where is NEMA Academy? How do people find this? And then Alexa, what's coming? What's next?
As everybody's
thank
radio
you for that.
Starts going right now.
That perfect plug. www.nemaacademy.org. Super simple. You can just go in there and set up a new account and get started. In terms of what's coming, in addition to all the materials that Craig mentioned, we have a lot of exciting things in the works. So, the one that's most timely, especially, right now as we head into the summer, we'll be posting some modules about emergency response and natural disaster preparedness and response and recovery, especially as we go into hurricane season, wildfire season, how the industry can prepare and hopefully prevent any damage or things done, and then if there is an event, how to evaluate the level of damage done and go about fixing it. So really getting into our resiliency of the industry, and in doing that, bringing in new innovations and helping educate, broad industry users and contractors and different stakeholders on some of those new technologies. We also have, we also partner with the Electrical Safety Foundation International. So they have a ton of safety information that we'll be turning into modules and being able to put out to, even like real estate agents on what they should be looking for when you're doing home inspections so that they can help their, home buyers. Yeah. So really trying to get out to, different stakeholders that you wouldn't traditionally think of, needing some of that foundational electrical safety knowledge. We have some trainings that Craig mentioned. We're going to have some National Electrical Code revisions happening, of course, in 2026, but then 2029 is going to be here before we know it. So doing some, education about how people can engage, with NEMA and participate in those, revisions. And then just general, we have a lot of new technologies when it comes to, grid modernization, data centers, and AI. And our companies are providing a lot of the products that are going into building these data centers and just electrifying manufacturing, automation. And so we'll have a number of modules focused on those as well. And I will mention, in addition to having NEMA, content or LCA content, we've partnered with a number of organizations, including IES, UL, NAED, the National Association of Electrical Distributors, to incorporate their content onto this platform. So it really is a one-stop shop for the industry.
That's awesome.
And then I just want to throw out one stat that as I was, preparing for this, I found super interesting. So just to give you a sense of, some of the stakeholders we're trying to reach in terms of workforce development. But according to, the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, employment of electricians is projected to grow 6% annually until 2032. Wow. And that's twice the rate of all other occupations. So, and they average about 73,000 job openings a year. So that's a ton of new jobs just in the next 7 years. And so we really want to be able to use this platform to help, people and new, generations enter this industry.
Yeah.
That's an incredible resource. And I love the idea that you're unifying a lot of different resources that are out there, because of the fact that one of the complaints that I hear from people is, I don't know where to go to get information. And it's like, well, if you have one central repository of everything, then it's so much easier to just be like, go here. You'll get all your questions answered. So, I think that's a really phenomenal offering and really helps this industry along in the efforts of getting education out there. And I think the resources that you're providing through these new initiatives are going to be really incredible to help motivate improvement in our industry and in the electrical industry in general, because of the fact that we have so much new on the horizon for technology and innovation that people need to kind of hold on tightly to keep up with what's going on. And so from that perspective, I've got a fun little question for you about the industry as a whole. Like, from this larger view, I mean, lighting and lighting controls is such a tiny piece of a massive complex machine. But, what do you think the future looks like with lighting and lighting controls? Where do you think it's heading? I mean, I know you just finished all the LCA modules, so you're like just brimming with new information. But like, from your perspective, from the larger perspective of the entire electrical industry, where do you see lighting controls and lighting going right now?
Kick it off, Craig, and then turn it over to you.
Just sure you don't want to? I'll start. It's a softball question. No, seriously. Okay.
No, I was just going to say from a larger perspective, when we see, new buildings going up, new manufacturing facilities, all with the goal of, growing U.S. manufacturing, and all those facilities are going to need lighting. We're going to need, data centers. Well, there aren't going to be that many people in them. We still need lighting in them. New buildings, new residential buildings and developments. Everything we do needs to have, lighting. And so I think there's just a huge opportunity and going to be a demand growth for this industry, even though it is, considered a smaller sector, but just the impact that they have and how essential they are to, sectors across the entire economy. So I really see this as a growing area, and I'm excited to be a part of this, future.
Yeah,
Awesome.
for my part, that is the big question, isn't it?
Right.
And
Mhm.
it's not something I could answer with prediction, but more with just some thoughts. So here are some thoughts on it.
Yeah.
One is that I don't know. There's a little bit of a feeling like we're at the end of history with lighting, because of the LED. And so
Mhm.
what is next? And there's a lot of
Yep.
really good innovation going on at the manufacturer level, but not a lot of technological change, that where we had an industry where we just had like 15 years of this, 20 years of this massive technological change and a massive
Yep.
shift. But as the LED revolution wins, it means a bunch of different things. First off, for lighting controls, it means that there are more opportunities than ever, because the pairing of the lighting control and the LED light source, they're just inherently compatible. So there's
Right.
so many more opportunities for lighting control than we've ever had. We've seen dynamic color tuning and tunable white. I mean, we're at a point where we're almost like taking it for granted now. But if you look at a long enough time scale, it's just absolutely amazing what it's accomplished. But lighting controls has reached a point with energy codes where, again, that whole feeling of the end of history, like it's very hard. The energy codes have realized lighting controls, I think, for the most part. There are only a few things like institutional tuning where it's not mandated. And so, where does it go? And so we go into HVAC integration, we go into
Mm.
AI and maybe smart buildings, and it becomes so detailed and it becomes a lot more complex. It really, to bring this around to education, it really
Right.
demands not just an education in lighting controls, but a kind of a next level education that, hopefully the industry will pick up on and
Yeah.
see the opportunity there. Another thing that's a little bit challenging is that I think we're going to see a lot of change soon is on the rebate side in existing buildings. So we're seeing evidence that as early as 2020, that LED adoption reached a 50% point of penetration in commercial buildings. With give some and lose some, plus or minus based on the building
Yeah.
type, but generally 50%. That's extraordinary. Extraordinary in that now the remaining 50% are going to be a lot harder to get than the first 50%. Now we're in the late majority. And then we're heading into the laggards, and then we're heading into the people who are going to be like, with T12s, going to their grave. So it becomes a lot more difficult to offer rebates. So, the rebate programs, lighting used to be their biggest category. Now they're seeing that challenged. And it's becoming harder and harder to get energy savings, especially on their old formula of let's do it this year. Let's do it this year. Bring it in,
Yeah.
So hopefully what's going to happen there is the the rebate programs administrators are starting to come around to the idea, maybe thinking a little bit longer term in terms of their own return with energy savings, and also looking at ways to, if we can't have low hanging fruit, what can we have in this category?
Mhm.
And so they're
Mhm.
looking at things like, LED to LED upgrades are starting to become, emerging as kind of a new rebate category. And lighting controls is starting to move up in the catalog from the appendix, close to the
Right.
appendix, to right up there with lighting, and putting them side by side. Let's do this, and you get X. That's a really nice thing for the category. And we may start seeing things like more where it's more application specific, or more, instead of custom rebates, because energy codes are so restrictive, it's kind of hard to beat the code for a custom rebate. They may say, okay, hey, do the HVAC integration and you get X. Do the network lighting control, and then, you get X, and so on. So that's an opportunity. And it's, I wish they'd done that sooner with the low hanging fruit, because they would have gotten so much more energy savings with people who are more apt to invest. Now we may see a lot of rebates that are now really recognizing the potential of the category, but it's heading into a market that's a little more resistant. So we have to see how it's all going to work out. But there's definitely an opportunity there, and it's sort of like it revives and revitalizes the opportunity going into a tougher upgrade market. So that's something else I'm looking at. And to that end, another pressure point on all of this, and I'm sorry to ramble on, but you asked about the future.
No, this is great. I love it.
I don't know. This is what you get. But another thing is, something Alexa mentioned, which is we're going to see all these AI data centers come on, and we're going to see an extra demand for electric power has been mitigated so effectively through energy efficiency, which is why we have rebates, because it's cheaper to pay a customer to save a watt than to build a power plant that gives me the watt, right? And it's been very effective in mitigating that growth and demand for electric power, as we've seen so much growth in things like tablets and phones and devices, all these different devices. But now with AI, it's going to change the game. We're going to see like this, and data mining for coins, and we're going to see this massive increase in demand for electric power. And what that's going to do to the grid is is either going to have to rebuild itself on the fly, which is like an airplane rebuilding its capacity in flight, or it's going to have to find deeper energy savings. And those deeper energy savings can come from things, like HVAC integration. Things that weren't on the table are now going to become on the table, and they're going to be a lot more valuable, because electric power is going to go up. And if there's any kind of real-time pricing, it's really going to go up. And you're going to so the owner is going to be much more incentivized it's almost like it's risk management for them. It's either going to be a cost savings later, or it's risk management today, to make those investments in very deep retrofits. No more, I put in the TLEDs, I'm efficient, I got my 9-month payback. They had to go deep and put in the lighting controls and do the lighting redesign and really do this, soup to nuts, to insulate themselves from these risks that are, coming down the pike. And then there's the whole carbon conversation. And, politically, we're in an environment where at the federal level, it's not very favorable. It's maybe dead, actually. But at the state level, carbon is still a concern. And and then California, for example, is the world's 4th or 5th largest economy, and it's the largest economy in the U.S. And they're very active on things like carbon reduction. So as you get into carbon mitigation, you have to look deep with retrofits.
Right.
Because you have to increase the value, like the rebate programs, you have to increase the value of every transaction. Every building is an opportunity not only to save energy and carbon, but a lot of it, if you go deep with it and you start from scratch and just really just do it from the ground up. And so lighting controls are, lighting's going to have a part to play in this. Lighting controls are going to have a big part to play in this. And that is exciting for the category. But of course, all these things are speculative and they demand a level, like Alexa was saying, the number of electrical workers, the demand for expertise from those electrical workers and from other people in the industry is going to be extraordinary. So we may see this rise of the people are integrators today, maybe the master integrators of tomorrow, and have firms that actually do this. Like some firms came in and were like, we do commissioning. That's it. We're commissioning agents. So you have a lead project, we come in, we're your commissioning agent. We may see people come in, an industry develop like that around integration. But of course, it's always chicken and egg. You need demand for it. And I think that this demand is emerging, and I think people are still trying to understand it. What exactly is the demand? And how does that fall on the, where the rubber meets the road, and what does that mean for us, and what do we need to do about it? And, it's this old conversation in lighting. If we don't pick up the ball, someone else will, and someone else will own it. So but again, it's chicken and egg and trying to figure out what the timing is and what do I need to know? How much do I need to know, and what's going to happen? And so this is all going to have to roll out, and it'll roll out incrementally and in bits and pieces, and it'll keep podcasts like this and journalists like me going for many years to come, trying to figure it out and help people navigate it.
All right, so you mentioned LED.
Hope any of that made
upgrades.
sense.
Totally.
It all made
I gave a
sense.
big answer. So I apologize to anyone listening.
No, all right. So you mentioned LED to LED upgrades, and you also mentioned reduction in carbon. So as we're looking at more and more manufacturers and fixtures no longer having replaceable components, right? A lot of these fixtures have integrated circuitry, electronic waste, right? A lot of these fixtures are no longer replaceable components. They have to be thrown out. Thoughts and concerns long term with the increase in electronic waste that we're going to see from LED to LED conversion.
Yeah, I'm a big, that whole integrated lighting thing came from an argument, if I understand it, came from an argument that if we design it integrated, we get the best performance. So let us do this. Follow along with us for a while, and then we can standardize. But once there's a sunk cost, people invest in in a way of doing business that's hard to change, and there has to be again a demand for it. I see the argument on both sides. There is utility in the integrated product, but there is a lot of advantages in terms of durability, longevity of the overall product, upgradability, less waste, and being able to mix and match like you used to with a ballast and a lamp. There's a lot of advantages to that. So yeah, I think that the interest will always be there in standardization because there's a really strong business case for it. But do you think it's there right now that it's enough to drive manufacturers to
I don't know. It's hard to say one way or the other, right? We're looking at all of these, again, don't get me wrong, the life expectancy of your standard 2x4 troffer is much higher than your old fluorescent. But there is that whole argument of, yes, I could change out the lamp, I could change out a ballast, and the fixture would last 40, 50, 60 years because I can just replace components. Whereas now, if you have a failed fixture, it could be 6 months. There's nothing to replace. The fixture goes.
Well, it's also the renovation cycle, right? So that's Well, I've always understood it to be 25 years. I could be wrong. But if they can say our product is going to last 25 years, then maybe, then you don't need to. And I don't think we're seeing so much efficiency gains that the upgradability is that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, we're
maybe,
almost out of time here, so I just want to
yeah,
recap
these
like
are
what we've
all rabbit
discussed
holes,
here. No, I
books, Matt.
know, I
So
know.
yeah.
We could do a single episode on each one of those topics, which would I think would be amazing. But at any rate, the topic here at hand is really more focused on education, and there is a lot
Yes.
that is happening, a lot that is changing in this industry, not just lighting, not just controls, but electrically. And as a result, there's a demand for education. And to kind of keep up with that changing technology, keep up with the changing terminology and everything that's going on. And we're seeing a significant increase in labor force growth. So as
Mm.
a result, having a resource like NEMA Academy is going to be critical to making sure that the workforce is not just there, but trained and able to
Mhm.
adapt with what's going on. And so this merger of the resources in Education Express from Lighting Controls Association onto the uh, NEMA Academy platform and other resources that are going to be migrating over too. I mean, it's brilliant. It really is that one-stop shop mentality that we've been needing for
Mm.
so long, because again, for such a long time, it's been, well, go to this website, go to that website, go to this other website.
Right.
And you've had to kind of have a list of bookmarks essentially to be like, okay, I need to learn about lighting controls. I'm going here. I need to learn about, electrical distribution. I'm going to go over here. And so as a result, this is really a fundamental fix to a core issue on the educational level. And it really touches on so many of the episodes that we've talked about where people are saying the thing that needs to be fixed in this industry is education. And so I'm really excited about this transition, and I'm really happy to have you guys on talking about this, because of that resource is going to be made much more accessible to people now, and people can really take advantage of what's available to them. I mean, there's already incredible stuff available right now, but it's only going to get better from here on. So I think it's a really amazing thing. And like Craig was waxing poetic about all of the things that he's seeing on the horizon, we're gonna need to learn about that stuff. If any of the words Craig said were completely alien to you,
Yep.
then yeah, there needs to be education around that. So yeah, it's incredible stuff. I wanted to give you an opportunity to mention anything else that you want our listeners to know about regarding NEMA Academy or NEMA, before we finish this out.
No, I mean, to your point, I actually jotted down a few things that we should be looking at developing some new content too. Maybe, product
Nice.
stewardship, yeah, end of life and things like that. But again, the website is www.nemaacademy.org. Encourage everyone to go check it out if there are, specific, areas that you all want us to pursue, content development on, then please feel free, NEMA Academy at nema.org, send a note or any feedback on the platform itself, where we, continue to develop it and improve it. And we'd love to come back and chat with you all as we, continue to add some exciting new content in the future.
Absolutely.
Awesome. All right.
Yeah.
Alexa, I have one last super quick question. I'm going to ask you to keep it quick, but I know it's not. I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
So
sure.
you mentioned a 6% increase in the labor force for electrical until 2032, or projected. But at the same time, we're seeing a reduction in people wanting to work in the trades and want to be in that workforce in general. So how are you guys, from an education standpoint, trying to increase awareness that not only these jobs, but these extremely amazing careers in the electrical field in general are there, to try and bring more people back into the trades?
Yeah, that's a great
I'm
question. I
so
will keep it
sorry I
short.
dumped that on you.
No, it's a great question. And so we're really working closely with our member companies and manufacturers, and we as an industry want to partner with different stakeholders, whether it's the federal government, state government, local trade schools, and community colleges, to educate new people on, how important this industry is. We are really leading a lot of the innovations as Craig alluded to, data centers, AI, we're essential to making those things happen. So we want to, deliver those partnerships with different stakeholders and get the word out there about, this exciting industry, well-paying jobs, and work with different, stakeholders that we haven't worked with in the past to really get that message out there. And I think it's only going to continue to grow because, everyone here wants to bring back, US, manufacturing, but we need the people to do that. So that's where, our government partners come into play here too, that, they can help us, identify some new workers to help grow our domestic industry. Is that
Awesome.
short enough? Is
Awesome.
that good?
Alexa, that was
I can
great.
keep going if you want.
No, that was,
I would just
I'm
add
sure
to
you
that,
can, trust me.
the LCA, that was part of why we were so excited to work with the California Community College system. That was a big part of it. So that lighting controls was represented in how they were educating electrical workers. And then we've also partnered with Stacks and Jules, which is a great organization that works with high school students to prepare them for
Awesome.
interesting careers in electrical fields. But we haven't been able to do. We're hoping for more partners. Educators, universities, absolutely. Lighting controls, lighting, should be part of the curriculum, and we offer 100%. A curriculum. Yeah.
Love it. Awesome. Alexa, Craig, thank you so much. That was a fantastic conversation. It just gives everyone so much more resources than they had before. And Craig, it's going to flood so many more people to the content that you've spent so much time working on over the years that never had eyeballs on it before. So it's going to be fascinating to see the potential growth in the next 6, 12, 18 months and where things really go. So thank you both for your time. And again, to everyone, thank you so much for episode 100. This has been quite a ride. I will close this out and remind us that that today's episode is presented by the LCA, the Lighting Controls Association.
And it's financially supported by the National Association of Innovative Lighting Distributors. Check out our website, lightingcontrolspodcast.com. Got all of our episodes, all 100, and information about the NAILED LSC certification and a whole lot more. But also huge shout out to our sponsor for this episode. We could not do this without your support, Max Light and their C-Max Lighting Controls platform. Adding to the innovation that is going on in our industry, they are one of the top innovators for lighting controls. So check out their website, maxlite.com/CMAX. But until then, thank you for joining us. And Craig and Alexa, thank you. This was an awesome conversation.